The Alleghany Journal has found 3 important individuals who are responsible, in part or maybe mainly, for the fact that Alleghany County now has a drug court. Judge Stein, who is the circuit court judge here in Alleghany County, has been just a very important part of this whole concept. And Your Honor, can you give the public a feel for more than a year ago there was no drug court, and all of a sudden it looks like the program is going very well?
Yeah, the program is going well. It's an idea that actually started with Sheriff Hall probably 5 years ago, and then he brought myself when I was Commonwealth Attorney and Ingrid Barber from Human Services on board, but the missing piece at that time was we didn't have a resident judge. And little did I know that I would end up being the resident judge. So once that happened, we were able to submit an application, get approved by the state just about a year ago, and then the program with COVID delays actually we actually took our first person into the program in August. So.
Do you believe that the public understands what the structure is? In other words, we have a circuit court that normally handles serious drug cases, but a drug court is a special court that you happily are overseeing, and those individuals are brought before that court on what basis?
Start out with every week, and then as they work their way through the program, they less often. It's actually a 5-phase program that takes anywhere from 15 months to 2 years to complete. So, and the idea is that it's not just the substance abuse part of it, not just the court or probation part of it, that it's a multidisciplinary approach that puts a team in place to intensively supervise people and give them the help they need.
And Lydia Hall is the drug court coordinator. Lydia, what does that position entail?
So it entails the administrative oversight of trainings and things like that for our team. It also making sure that the participants are coming to their respective treatment and their probation meetings, and just making sure that they're, doing well within the community.
This is no cakewalk though, is it? Because this, for most of the participants, it's a weekly show up, take care of business.
Yes, they are subject to anywhere from 3 to 5 drug screens a week. They're drug screened through, their treatment programs, also through probation. They have groups that they must attend. It's very intensive, and it's made that way so that, they learn about their addiction and how that they can work through it.
And last but not least, Susan Chidham is the clinical supervisor, and that's a nice title, Susan, but we're sure there's a lot of work behind that. What do you do?
Yes, at the agency I supervise the clinical services, which includes our mental health outpatient, our substance use services, our same-day access, and our emergency services.
Your Honor, when a drug court is established, are there plenty of patterns to model it after, or are you pretty much blazing a trail in this part of Western Virginia?
No, not at all. Drug courts have been around for about 30 years. They've been in Virginia for 25 years. In fact, the first program was in Roanoke in the state. So, and there is actually statutes, laws we have to follow, and then there's a statewide drug court advisory committee that has to approve the application. So all of the whole program model, all the documents, everything had to be approved by the state before we can open. But at the same time, then you have to have enough of a local. You have to what works in Covington is probably not going to work in Norfolk or Fairfax. So you have to fit it into what's available in the local area.
Is part of the wisdom of a drug court to limit the amount of incarceration, or is there much more to it?
Well, obviously, I mean, the overlying philosophy is that we need to treat addiction as a disease rather than treat it as a crime. And incarcerating people, we've known for years, doesn't cure or help anybody. It keeps people off the street. It stops them committing other crimes in the community. So, the primary goal is to help treat long-term addiction problems and turn people back into productive members of society.
And so far, everyone talks about the program being very successful. Is that a function of numbers or the willingness of people to say, the people who represent suspects, hey, my client wants to do it? Or what are the elements of calling this a success so far?
One of the things that the state requires is very good record keeping and statistics. It's an evidence-based program, so we don't get just to say at the end of the year, we think it did good. So we have to meet the criteria for people coming into the program. We have to keep all the record keeping. Right now, as of today, we've had admitted 11 people into the program. We've only had one person who's been terminated from the program. So right now we have 10 active participants. Because the program's less than a year old, no one has successfully graduated from drug court, because the absolute minimum, if you did everything right, would be about 15 months. So we have people moving through the program, and then at the end of the year, the state will actually come in, evaluate it, see how we're doing, and then give us, hopefully, suggestions to improve.
And Judge Stein, one of the primary motivators of having a drug court is the reduction of prisoners within the various slots that the state has or localities have. Is that a significant cost reduction factor?
It is. I wouldn't say it's a primary factor, because it's more about saving people than it is about saving money. But for every drug court, if we keep a drug court participant out of jail for 12 months, then that is that's a savings of about $11,000 for one person. So right now we have 10 people in the program who otherwise would be looking at a minimum. A lot of them were looking at a lot more than 12 months. But if all those people had served 1 year, that would have been about $110,000 that the localities would have been putting out for jail costs that they're not putting out.
To be able to be served by the drug court, a suspect or someone already convicted really has to go through the Commonwealth Attorney. Their representative has to convince the Commonwealth Attorney, in effect, that the subject's worth it.
Absolutely. It has to go through the Commonwealth Attorney, then it has to go through Lydia to screen them to actually show that they have a substance abuse disorder. Then they have to come to the treatment committee to be approved, and after all that happens, then they come to the court and I can approve them and accept them.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
All right, thank you for having us.